Hi guys, it's Dave here. Welcome back to another video. This one's going to be on something a little bit different. I know it's a little bit late as well. It's only a day late, so you know, not too bad, but I do apologise. This one is going to be on something I haven't actually talked about. I haven't actually touched on before because it's something that I've only just got into trying. I've up until now kind of focused on ink drawing and colouring with markers and stuff, and recently I've been following an artist on Instagram, absolutely superb artist who actually provided me with a commission piece which I can't dig out right now, but she uses watercolours, and I thought I want to try that because I remember trying that when I was at school and they force you to try doing watercolour painting, but it's, you know, it's a little bit different when you actually get the bug yourself. So this video is going to be just my kind of couple of tips on what I've learned since I've started trying to use watercolor paints. So yeah, let's just get on with it. So number one, the first point I want to make, and arguably the most important, is don't skimp on your supplies. I'll show you what I mean with this. So this is a set of watercolor paints. This is a little pack. Now I must admit I didn't actually buy these. These were given to my children by a friend, and I thought I'd give them a go, but you know, they look, for all intents and purposes, like I've always imagined watercolor paints would look. They've got, you know, a chalky consistency, like those little circle ones that you get from Crayola. They, you know, they have a little pan, so they kind of looked semi-professional, and they came with a little travel brush. I thought, yeah, this looks like I expected watercolor set to look. These things are a nightmare. No matter how wet you get them, you cannot get a decent kind of vividness of colour. No matter how soaking wet, this red is practically gone because I let this red sit in water for overnight, in fact, and even after doing that, I was getting barely any pigment and just a lot of water or whatever binding agent they use on these. Also, with these cheap sets, they've given us a black, a grey, which I think is just that with less of the pigment in it, and a white. And a white in a watercolour set is useless. That's not synonymous with cheapness. That's just, I don't know why the travel sets seem to want to do that. But so that's the cheap set that I was given. I don't know, if I'm honest, how much that was, but this. So I bought this set, which is not actually in the box anymore, from Winsor & Newton, the Cotman series. Now this is their student range of paints. So with watercolor paints, you get student range, you get artists range, or professional range, sorry, and I think the difference is how much of the pigment is contained within the paint. This one cost me, if you were to buy this on Amazon, it's about, I think about £7 or £8 right now, which is what I paid for it in a store because I used some student discount to get it. But if you buy it in a lot of retail stores, it can be up to £15. So this is a really nice little set. It comes with your basic colours, so kind of the same basic range of colours as the set here. It doesn't come with a black, instead it comes with an extra brown, so you get two browns as well as your yellow ochre in this one. And it does come with a nice little travel brush, which is not in this set anymore because I put that in a different set. But this is the pack that you get when you buy this Winsor & Newton one. It's actually, I just noticed it's kind of diddy compared to this one. It no longer contains what came in that pack because I bought another Winsor & Newton set, and I've kind of swapped the paints over between the two of them. But these, in terms of quality, are just it's like a complete different type of medium. Let me grab the other one. So basically, I bought this one. I didn't buy this one. That was a lie. I was given this one. This one I bought. Straight hair. And then I was in Hobbycraft a few days ago, and I saw. So it was, the whole thing is this. Oh my goodness, that's not going to fit on camera. Let's just get you out of the way. The whole thing is this. It's a Winsor & Newton travel kit. If I zoom out a little, it's going to get the tripod legs in temporarily, but. So this is the travel kit. Now what this is is supposedly, I say supposedly, the retail cost for this is supposed to be around about £50, which seems like a lot. I got it for cheap because it was in clearance, because it had a battered a battered box. But this is the paint set. I'll get to the rest of it in a minute. But this is the paint set that comes inside this Winsor & Newton sketch, the travel set. And you can see there's a lot more. These white things are pans. These are actually half pans. This is the travel brush that came with the first Winsor & Newton set. So that's quite nice. That's quite nice that you get that. And there's actually room in here to store it, even though it didn't come with one. I don't know how well this is picked up. Oh yeah, really well actually, because of the light off to one side. You can see how shiny these are compared to how dry these ones are. Now these ones, like I say, I think you could probably use these as chalk actually, they're so dry. Let me just try. Yep. So see there, I've got some, you know, some little tiny chalks basically in this box. This is a really nice little set, and this one, like I say, it does cost a little more if you were to buy it full price, if you can find it cheap. I think on Amazon right now actually it's only £24, which would almost be worth it just for the paints and the nice large case alone. What I've done here is I've taken the ones from this set, I have carried them across to here. So I think the ones that came across were the yellows, this red, this is a brand new red, which I didn't realise is actually the exact same red as this one, so that was a mistake. This red, this brown, the greens, these two, these two blues, this purple's new, and this purple was actually one that I bought in a tube, and I've squeezed into that pan. So there's a nice selection of colours that I've got going on there for, you know, not very much space, if you like. The quality of the colours that you're going to get out of the two differing types of paint is just it's ridiculous. So here we've got, this is from the cheap Wilko set. So this is the so this I guess would be the equivalent of the cadmium red. This would be the equivalent of the Alizari crimson, and this would be the equivalent of the burnt umber. Now, if I bring in my swatch that I did from the set that I bought, that compared to that, you can see how much stronger that is, and that was barely wetting the paint as well. That literally is, you get it just kind of slightly wet, and you know it's good to go. Same with the Alizari crimson. Sorry, no, burnt sienna. I think that's probably the equivalent of. But even then, you can see how strong and flat that color is compared to that one. The lemon yellow hue, which I guess would be this one, this is just, it glows compared to this one. Cadmium yellow, actually I don't know, because that might be, unless that's the yellow ochre, I don't know, but you can see the colour difference there. And this is the, aside from this, so ignore the purple, because I added that, but this is the base set you get in this pack. So you also get a white, but obviously why am I going to bother swatching a white? And they're beautiful, beautiful strong colours. So just for a couple of pounds more, you know, go for that, because you're gonna, buying this basically reminds you of torture at school when they're trying to make you paint with, you know, really substandard art supplies, whereas this will kind of let you enjoy the medium a lot more. The other thing not to skimp on is paintbrushes, because a good paintbrush is probably, I would say, the most important things that I find so far in terms of quality and to try and get the best of are, first of all, get the best paints you can get. Secondly, get the best brushes. Originally I bought a bunch of these, and they're kind of nameless brushes with no branding on them, and they were dirt cheap. I understand why now. The reason I don't use this anymore, apart from with the white gouache for highlights and stuff, but the reason I don't use it is because it just doesn't hold anywhere near enough water. And even the bigger versions of this, because this is quite a small one, even the bigger versions of this don't hold enough water. The whole thing with watercolors, as I'm finding, is controlling the flow of the water onto the paper. This doesn't let you do that, because you're going at the paper, and then all of a sudden you're out of water and you're out of paint and you're getting dry strokes, and trying to fix that is way harder than you would imagine it would be. What I did do was I bought some actual branded Winsor & Newton Cotman brushes, and they are really, really nice. This is a round, so this is kind of the one used for the majority of laying down your flat colours. This is a number 7, which is actually quite small. I know it looks really big. With a lot of the stuff you're doing in watercolours, I think I could probably go to a 12, 13, 14 maybe, and I would be probably a bit better served, because this brush just it does hold a lot more water than the white no-named equivalents, but it's still not it still runs out far too often. And to be dipping, and keep dipping your brush in the water, if you haven't mixed enough of the colour that you're brushing on, it can kind of change the tone of the colours a little bit too much, if that makes sense. I don't really know watercolours well enough to be giving tips on that kind of side of thing, but I just know what happens to me. And the last thing to kind of, I would say, the least important but still fairly important thing to go for the quality of and not skimp on is the paper. Now, this is the thing that I did originally. This is Crawford and Black from the works, as everything always is with me. Artist watercolor pad. It was, if I remember correctly, it was £3 for 12 sheets, which is insanely cheap. Anybody who actually buys watercolor paper will tell you how cheap that is. It looks okay. The problem with this is it's clearly got, I would say, the thing you look for when you're looking at watercolor paper is the cotton content, for as a sign of quality. This I don't think has any. It sucks up the paint way too much. It dries your brush out incredibly quickly, and this pattern is way too, you can't see the pattern unfortunately because of my light, but the pattern's way too uniform to be attractive when it's actually painted on. So this stuff is basically, I use it now for kind of swatching, and if I need to see how a colour's going to look, I'll just tear a piece of that out of the pad and then have it off to one side and just kind of brush around it. I bought this. This is it's called Superior. This, I don't know what the cotton content of this stuff is, but it is absolutely beautiful to paint on. The pattern is a lot less uniform. I don't know if you can see that. You can a little bit. There's a lot less uniform of a pattern. It doesn't dry out the brush as much because I think it's got a higher cotton content, and it's just nicer to paint on. I do also have, sorry, I leaned away then. I do also have this little packet. I don't know how common these are going to be available. This is 100 sheets of small watercolor paper cards. Now, these are great because they are fun to practice on, and you end up with lots and lots of little kind of I wouldn't say pieces of art, but if you want to make lots of little pieces, you absolutely can. What I tend to do with these, because with watercolor paper it buckles when it gets wet, so I get this is one of my sketchbooks, and I just tape it with my blue painter's tape it to my sketchbook, and then you get the bonus of, once it's, so obviously you get the benefit of it not buckling quite so much. The other benefit is that when you're finished, you have something with a ready-made border. So it's quite nice, this little border around the edges. Makes it look almost kind of prepared. This was like a very, what do you call it, rough and ready practice piece that I did, and that's like I say, that's what I bought these little pieces for, just to practice and see how things would look once they're on actual watercolor paper. Doesn't always look great, but that's the joy of this thing. And this little pack of 100 sheets cost me, I want to say, about £5. So I don't mind wasting a few sheets of that. It doesn't do anything It's not going to break the bank if I waste, you know, 2 or 3 of those. I did also get in that travel kit a watercolor pad, a Winsor & Newton Cotman one. This is really nice quality paper. I have swatched all of the paints that I'm currently using, and it just, you know, this paper absolutely loves these paints, and I've said it before, but it really is a joy to paint on decent paper like this. Okay, the second thing to bear in mind when you're starting, or that I found out anyway, when I was starting to do watercolor paints, is do some research. It's not good enough to just go buy some paints, buy some paper, buy a brush, and then you're away, because it's not the same as just because you can color with some markers, just because you can color with pencil crayons, or coloring pencils, sorry. You can't, doesn't mean you can watercolor. And so yeah, I don't even want to really show this, but in one of my previous videos I coloured in a picture of a character from a game that I play called Xenogears. This is the same picture, and I've tried to watercolour it. Now, on camera this actually looks even worse than it does in real life. The colours are incredibly patchy because I don't understand yet how to control the flow of the water. There are parts where I've gone too heavy with the water. There are parts where I've just like splodged on colour and not fixed it. There are these kind of very clear lines here and here where I don't really, like I said, I don't really understand the flow of it yet. That's even more evident on the skin, where you would obviously, that's the first place you're going to look. It looks like she has some kind of skin problem. And to be honest with you, I'm glad I did this piece, because it is it shows how much there is to learn with this medium compared to something like markers. I'm not saying I'm the greatest colourer when it comes to markers or colouring pencils or whatever, but I could at least make it look better than this. And this wasn't me, you know, just bloshing the paint on. This was me actually trying to do it. But like I say, this was the first thing that I painted, and it wasn't, you know, wasn't using the best quality supplies. It was using not this. It was using the good paints, but it was actually using not great paper and not great brushes. So since then I've been practicing, and hopefully I'm getting a little bit better. An embarrassing thing that happened was, so I bought this watercolor pad, and it does say there clearly watercolor pad. I was expecting something like this. So I open it up, and when I'm finished with the sheet, I turn over to the next sheet. What you actually do with this type of pad, so here's what happened. I got this pad, took it back to my desk, and I tried to turn the page, and you can't. Every edge is actually sealed with gum, apart from there's like a tiny little, about an inch here on the corner where you can see it's not glued, and the whole rest of the outside of this pad is glued down. I thought this was a manufacturing problem, because this pad was quite cheap. It was something like £6 for 20 sheets, is it? Yeah, it was £6 for 20 sheets, which is quite cheap. So I just assumed that it was a manufacturing problem. In fact, that is what's called a watercolor block. Something I wish I'd known before, because then what I proceeded to do was think, oh well, I'm just gonna have to tear the paper off. Tried to lift the paper from this corner and basically tore all the way across the center of the piece of paper. Pulled the paper off all the way around and just shredded the edges of it. Now, that is not how you get the blocks off. I discovered afterwards that what you do with the blocks is, once you're finished with them, you pop something in under here. I'm not going to use a brush actually, because that'll probably wreck it, but I can use a ruler, I think. So once you're done with the piece, you pop it under here, and you just drag it along and it will split, and it splits so easily. Like, that is coming off now, and I did this the other day, and I could not help but laugh at myself for how stupid I'd been in thinking that, you know, it was a manufacturing problem. Looked it up online, and yeah, basically, I'd love to say I found more examples of people being as stupid as me, but I really didn't. So there you go. You have a piece of watercolor paper separate from the pad there. Just one of the little kind of idiosyncrasies of watercolor painting that I wasn't expecting, but if I'd done a bit of research on types of paper, I may have had a better idea of what to expect, and I wouldn't have wasted a piece of paper. And I guess the last thing that I would say that I've discovered being a complete watercolor noob is, don't expect to be good at it straight away, because unless you're some kind of art prodigy, unless you're the next Jazza or the next Bailey J or whatever, you're not going to be able to pick up a paintbrush and just from instinct paint a beautiful picture. It's a very tricky medium to not to master, but it's a very tricky medium to learn those little idiosyncrasies of how the paint flows, how much paint you need to put on your brush, what your mixes are going to be, because with watercolors you're never going to mix the same color twice because of the way the way you mix from the pan onto the palette. It's just all these little things that you will come to learn, and you won't actually learn them until you practice it. So you can watch any number of videos on YouTube saying this is how you do it and this is what you've got to do, but you know, I've watched tons of people showing how to do what's called a flat wash, and every single time I've practiced it so far, I've got a little bit better every single time, but I'm still not at a point where I would say yes, I'm happy with this flat wash. So just practice and don't expect to be good at it straight away. Well, that is all for this video. Hopefully I'll be able to do something with a little bit more creative content in it next time. This one has been a bit of a rush video, if I'm completely honest with you, because I have a bit of a bomb site where I would normally paint or draw. We are at, I believe at the moment, 82 subscribers, so we've passed the 80 sub mark. Thank you so much. So close to that 100 subs. Like I say, I will be doing the giveaway once we hit 100 subs. Please like and subscribe to this video, leave a comment, and I hope to see you all again soon.